the world, what does it do? What good to gain the entire world and lose your soul and then be poor toward God? There's a parable that Jesus talks about this happening with some guy, and apparently the guy, he had a very prosperous year, grew a lot, and he had all kinds of riches, and he eat, drink, be merry, sit back, and live off the fat. He thought he had it going on, like so many people that have made it successful. They made uber gobs of money and everything, but they're not rich toward God. You understand? You want to build up substance there, because that's eternal. One thing is ephemeral, fleeting, that could be over any time, no security at all. We could be dead at any moment. It's not being morbid or negative. It's a scientific fact. And yet, how invested are these people? And you think you got it going on? You might be dead, because it says that the guy that night, the very night, his life was demanded from him. Where did he go? You understand? It's like, wow. You got to wonder. He had all his faith and trust in his possessions, his wealth, and it was gone like that. Then did he have any substance? Is that all it was about? Is that what he taught the world through example? It was just about making a lot of money, being like me, and then what? Rich toward the world and poor toward God? Is that what we want? Is that success? You want to buy that notion by these people that are peddling that crap? And I'm the crazy wild-eyed radical that says, wow, siphon off a few of those $50 billion a year and let's actually end homelessness by buying properties and overseeing this thing. It's cheaper to purchase in the long run. Nobody can deny that, than it is to rent. But no, I'm crazy. I'm a bleeding heart liberal. I'm thinking, oh my God, nothing could be further from the truth. It's like, but yet, see, I get it from the right and the left. And I'm saying, let's, come on, admit I'm right about this stuff. Let's join together. Let bygones be bygones and just fix our problems, please God, and find a semblance of happiness, because that's what I really want. I want to be free, and I can't go it alone. I need you to be free, okay? I'm just like you. Right now I need money. I don't get an opt-out, a waiver, or anything. I'm just like you, and God understands our love of money. But to keep it healthy, you've got to confess it. And you've got to look at reality and be honest and look at all the people that are they're literally dying out in the cold sometimes. Not criminals. You talk about something that engenders crime, that induces crime, it would be this situation, the state of affairs, where if you're desperately poor and you got an ounce of respect for yourself and pride, you say, oh my God, I got to commit a crime. I got to save face here. I got to do something stupid. I'd rather people thought I was bad, a criminal, than poor. That's the worst thing in the world. That's a moral breach to be poor, right? Isn't that the sense? Well, these are the moochers, the welfare cheats, and they're draining the system and all that. Well, right? They've got problems because they're lazy or they're on drugs or they're alcoholic or they whatever. Okay, they're mentally ill. Okay, we've got all these reasons that the poor people are bad. They're immoral. It's immoral to be poor. And it's like these ungodly beliefs are rampant. They're there. They're just there. Nobody needs to come out and actually say these things like I am, but the inference is clear from overwhelming empirical evidence everywhere. Of course, yes, that's right. So there's all these people who have an interest in keeping the problem. There's a lot of money to be made from criminals. You know how many very well-paying jobs, and you understand the crimes we're talking about, they're not just shoplifting. There's homicides we're talking about, the drug stuff. So my friends, do we want to answer for not speaking up, speaking truth to power, and anybody else would listen, even if it cost our own lives? You want to do that. I'm telling you, you want to do that. You want to be like a Martin Luther King Jr. or a JFK. We got to tell these people the score, man, that God's will is, no ifs, ands, or buts, unequivocally, incontrovertibly speaking, God's will is going to be established upon earth. There's no way you can stop it. There's no way. It's happening through knowledge, the technology, the information. It's happening right under our noses. We're all figuring out, yeah, it's true. They've been keeping this stuff about the UFO secret, putting up the laughter curtain, confusing the issue, and mind-effing you some more, because knowledge is power. That's why they don't want you to know about this stuff. It's in the Bible, all this stuff. There's other people There's other planets inhabited, yeah. There's the higher technologies, yeah. Right, yeah, it's all true. And they, the grand poobahs, the masterminds, the kingpins, at the top, uppermost echelons of power in this world, the Satanists, for all intents and purposes, don't want you to know that. They don't want the average person empowered. They don't want you to go, wow, the problem is right in our face. We got to unify. Trump supporters and Biden supporters got to hold hands, okay, and sing kumbaya and come together and just kick some evildoers' butt. And the way we do that is demanding to stop them enslaving us. And the way they're enslaving us is through currency debasement. Okay? They unjustifiably raise our cost of living. It's currency debasement. I made up a term for it. It's currency deworthment. Okay? Because you understand the worth. If your dollar is worth less in 5 years than it is now, then your currency was deworthed, right? It was debased. It was diluted. It was watered down. Now do you understand what's going on here and how it works? And why they're doing this? Because they don't care. They create chaos. They create the problem, so they just steal. They say, well, fine, I raised the cost of living 10%, so I'm taking 20% and a pay raise. That's what these top politicians in the Congress and Senate, that's what they do. So they insulate themselves and then some. So you understand why they would do it, what incentivizes them, why they would go along with this program with no commensurate checks and balances for the low-end workers. Am I crazy to say that this is crazy? This is madness that we're tolerating this. We've been tolerating it for not just decade after decade, but well over half a century now. I believe the bulk of this country was lost at the assassination of JFK. If we had gotten the kingpins then that were responsible for that and understood what the controversy over JFK was, then we'd be in a whole different position. Now our country would be in the black, not in the debt, not in debt, not in the red. We would not have half the problem. We wouldn't have half the crime. We wouldn't have half the problems. Not half of them. Martin Luther King Jr., the same thing. If he had gotten his way, he knew these same things. He knew economic social justice out there. A universal basic income. Hey, if it's going to save a lot of lives, why not do it? It's not going to hurt the economy. People love to serve. A man is not gratified. He's not satisfied. He's not content unless he feels useful. That's a matter of fact. That's the way God created it. That's a godly instinct. Okay, do you understand how the system can't break down and how these evildoers know all this stuff? Doesn't mean they adhere to it. No, they don't want God's will established. You understand, if they don't have an advantage, if they're not superior over others and have something that you can't have, like great wealth, they don't want it. You understand? So at the end of the day, when God comes back and these angels of the harvest of souls of men, metaphor or otherwise, literal, and he's deciding who are the weeds and who are the cultivars, you understand what's going to happen here? So, the job of the righteous is to warn these people that jump the ship of fools and say, look, can't you see the writing on the wall? God's going to win this fight. You can't stop knowledge. It's got this snowball thing going on. Good is going to prevail in the land. Okay, humanity will be set free at the very finger and hand of God if necessary, if you don't let great men that have tried do it, like Martin Luther King Jr. and JFK. But if we're not free unless we are financially free. Finances have everything to do with freedom and our sense of well-being, our sense of contentment. Okay? Listen, we all have a right to ask, whose planet is this anyhow? God created the planet. We're God's equally beloved children. What would God say? What would a crappy set of parents say if that way were all their kids? Share. So if we shared it, what need is there for money when it's established from birth that you've got all these resources here, the timber and the fishing and the agriculture and the gold and the silver and all the other metals, all the other precious gemstones, the oil, you name it, everything, the solar power, everything, all the accumulated wealth through the farms and factories and everything else out there, all the industrial age, state-of-the-art tools and implements, all that stuff was yours. Thus saith the Lord. That's how it would be. Do you understand how money would have no role in a situation like that? And we'd have to figure it out. Say, God says, you're still my friend. Now that you've been set free, you're still going to serve me because there are people out there that need help. People get old, they're infirm, they can't do things for themselves anymore. We need help. We need everyone to step up and be my friend. You be my servant of your own free will and accord, because you say that's where the joy and the happiness is. Like King Solomon said, who we call the wisest man in the world, although Jesus was infinitely wiser than Solomon. But he said, this is the greatest thing you could do with your few days under the sun, is to work, to serve. It's just the way it is, baby. It's the way God made it. God's in charge of giving contentment, gratification, satisfaction, happiness. And we can only get it if we're using our talents to serve one another. So how can a system break down if it's acknowledged from birth, we're all rich, thus saith the Lord, that's it. What you understand, the money lovers would be rendered irrelevant. You see why they don't want that scenario coming to fruition? But it's unstoppable because it's happening at the very finger, hand, and that's the will of God. You can't stop it. You can try, but it's going to get really hot in the kitchen for the evildoers. They're going down in God's time and on his terms, in his way. And I need to relax a little bit and just love, take a deep breath, take some of the advice I keep giving everybody, and just enjoy my stinking little life and be free. Try to be a nice human being, serve God, and by extension, I'm going to serve man in some way, his friend. I'm going to be a friend to man. I'm not going to hurt anyone. I'm not a threat to anybody. I'm nobody's enemy. It's my prerogative, my free will choice, and as it is yours and all of ours, to say, you know what, so-and-so can believe I'm their enemy, but you know what, I know what's in my heart. I know my prayers for that person. See, there's another way you can love people. That's another form of mulch. You see, the love of God comes in many forms of mulch. And what the mulch does, the weeds hate it because it's making them malleable, it's making them pliable, it's making them easy to yank out. That's what it does. And to distinguish them. Say, oh, I got your number. You just smothered you. You smothered you with love. And King Solomon, here we go again. Another analogy with King Solomon saying that it was like when you love your enemy, it's like pouring hot coals over their head. And you know they don't want that. And I'll use another one. It's like pouring holy water over them when they don't want it. Just by giving them respect. Just by showing them dignity. One of God's forms of mulch, of love and mulch. Empathy, listening to them, showing compassion, mercy, forgiveness. Being nice to them, smiling at them, being friendly, being genuine, right? They're all God's forms of mulch. So we're all very powerful. Just like it takes one little spark to ignite an entire forest aflame, do that in reverse, converse of that, to do something really good. So these ideas that you generate, because God has that divine spark of divinity in you, that cosmic spark, and you are able to give that, and we ought to give that because it blesses us, and it just is storing treasure in heaven because our values on the same page. God wants us to go win friends for him because he values friends. You get how easy it is? His yoke is easy, his load is light. It's such a simple thing. It doesn't make you religious. I hate religion. I'm just like every normal people. Religion is bad. Yeah, I mean, the authoritarian, establishmentarian status quoism religion of the state is very authoritarian. You got all these rules and mandates and laws and codes and regulations, and it's like you preach any of them, you might lose your freedom and to take all your stuff, right? That's how this religion operates. And we all accept it. We go to school, and no, you're not going to learn nothing about the law, the rules, and the basis, the justification for those laws, or the lack of laws where you think there ought to be some. We're not going to teach you none of that stuff about this religion. No. It's a cold, hard world. No. You learn by, trial and error. That's how it is. You didn't get smart quick. You weren't pragmatic. You didn't go get a college education and just get a career and say, this is it, man, path of least resistance. This is it, man. This is the way to success. You don't like those bad things that poverty brings you, then you should have done this. You should have jumped on the bandwagon sooner, right? That's the spirit of this world. Nobody comes out and says these things but me. But that's it, right? That's just everybody that fits into this scene has it going on. But if you don't fit into this scene, you know what? You're out of your mind. You're just a wild-eyed loon that's got nothing of import to say to me, nothing of relevance, nothing I care about. And even if I did, hey, listen, I take an ignorance is bliss plea. Okay, I mean, isn't that it? It's just, you know what? It just hurts my head, and I can't think about every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there. And you yourself said at the end of the day, you're only responsible for yourself. No, it's a roll of the dice, my friends. I'm telling you. You know what? I mean, if there was reincarnation, if you're some guy that neglected, you didn't care about the downtrodden out there, and you lived your life like Riley, okay, you know what? God's going to say, look, it was so important that this guy empathized with these people, that he understand God's point of